So a special welcome to those who are new today, and welcome back to what is in fact the final installment of the 11-week series about meditation skills. And we started with ourselves, very much with meditation as you might expect in the 11 weeks, and by this time in the proceedings we come to a time when perhaps we feel that from our experience in meditation we have something to give back to society, and perhaps the influence of what we've learned in meditation can actually reach out beyond ourselves to bring some benefit to the people around us and to society at large. Some of this will become obvious because in societies around the world there are different degrees to which there's an emphasis on the material and the spiritual. And perhaps meditation has something to offer in terms of the spiritual dimension of what we could expect from a society at any place in the world. In places like the States, then I think you probably agree that pretty much all measures of success and fulfillment in society tend to end up on some scale of material success, with very little to do with any sort of spiritual harmony or well-being. Although if you look hard you can find a lot of things, but really the material emphasis is most strongly there. If you went to some other countries in the world, and I'm thinking about India especially, because it really is a place which is very rich indeed in terms of all sorts of spiritual traditions, you may find that people have a huge knowledge of spiritual things, although they may materially be very poor. But that seems to not matter too much to them, because somehow it's the other things in life that really count. And if you are a meditator, I would say that whether you are, whatever sort of society you may be in, but it's like a way of finding a balance between the two. A balance between the material and the spiritual sides of life. And if you know how to meditate, there's a sense in which even if you become materially more wealthy, there's a sense in which you don't become deluded by that wealth. You don't forget about the other side of life and all those values which perhaps would make you see the true and deeper value of what you had materially in life. So there's a sense in which meditation helps people to strike a balance. Not to say that you have to be poor in order to see the value of spiritual things in life, but as a way for you not to lose sight of the spiritual values, no matter how wealthy your life may become. So if you're already in a fairly wealthy country materially, then you have a really huge opportunity to benefit from that spiritual side as well, if you are a meditator. One thing we talked about last week was to do with taking what you have in your meditation and allowing that to be spread for the benefit of other people. In our meditation tradition, for those who are new, some people focus inwardly on some brightness or a feeling of well-being inside, or perhaps even some sort of inner picture. And we had last week what's known as loving kindness meditation, where we take what we've built up during our meditation and we allow that to spread outwards for the benefit of those around us in increasingly wide circles. It's not something that's easy to do because most people's minds are rather sort of, stubborn, you might say. Well, certainly they don't have a lot of elasticity in them. So when you try to stretch them too far away from yourself, then it tends to come back with a snap. And But with practice, we tend to expand our awareness and our sense of empathy and compassion more easily towards those around us, almost as if we are widening the circle somehow of those who we care about and also have some sort of empathy towards. For some people in the world, the sense of empathy may not be that important. And the sort of people I might be thinking about are maybe those people who live by themselves, in maybe some sort of bachelor pad somewhere, and they don't really have to care about anything very much apart from themselves. Any spare money they may have at the end of the month, then they can spend it all on me. So what's known as disposable income. And they don't have to think too much about anyone else, because in the end it's all down to me. And you can imagine that people like that maybe just have a mind which can spread about so far, and that's probably just enough. But if some catastrophe happens and our poor bachelor manages to hook up with somebody and start to have a family, well, he may find himself in a difficult position if he still has the same frame of mind that he used to have, which is all about just me. Because, in theory anyway, he can no longer just care about the food on his own plate. He now has people sitting all around his table who also have plates which need food on them. So, simply by changing his status in life, he now has to change his frame of mind to actually include at least all the other people sitting around his table. If he doesn't do that, then he's going to have a very unhappy time of it in his family life. So, in a sense, by becoming, let's say, the head of a household, or even a participant in the household, or maybe the breadwinner, he actually has to make some changes to his way of thinking in order to make a good job of it, which is basically to expand his sense of empathy to everyone else in his family at the very least. If he can do that, then he could enjoy a happy family life. If he takes on more responsibility, and let's think about something like management, for example, or maybe you're not just looking after yourself or working for yourself, but you actually have to take care of all these subordinates who are in your workplace and think about their well-being as well, then maybe the circle or the frame of reference for the way he thinks would have to change to include them too. So if he's moving up in management, well, actually it's not just about a change on the payroll, but it actually would require a change in the way he starts to think about people. He can't just think about his own family anymore, but he actually has to think about all these other people who he's responsible for in his workplace. If he fails to do that, well, there'll be all sorts of allegations leveled against him, like nepotism, for example. Oh, I always get my own family in on the job, even though they're not qualified, that sort of thing can happen if people really have not expanded their mind to feel the level of responsibility they're working at. If something worse happens and they get made the mayor of their local town, well, if he's still just thinking about his colleagues again, he would fail to make the grade on the level of mind. Because to be a good mayor, he can't just care about himself anymore, he can't just care about his family, otherwise he'd be giving out all the contracts to his family, and you know what that means. Not even to his own company. But he'd actually have to think about the well-being of every single citizen who's living in the town where he's a mayor. So again, before taking on that position, maybe you have to do some exercises with expanding the mind first of all, so that when he reaches that level of management, he could actually have a mind that is broad enough to encompass everyone under his responsibility. If you want to become president, ditto. You think, well, you have to think about every citizen in your country, but these days even that is not enough, because we live on the same planet. You can't just think about the well-being of your own country anymore, because we're all connected with one another. So in a way, before you jump on the bandwagon and decide you want to have a high place in management, really you have to look back at yourself especially at your meditation, and think, just how far can I spread the empathy in my mind? Because if the answer is not so far, then you are really going to be shooting yourself in the foot by taking on a level of high responsibility, because you are unlikely to be able to find happiness in that role. And definitely the people around you will not be happy, because they feel that somehow you have failed to represent them or even to understand the people around you. So leadership actually goes with a major price to pay in terms of people's quality of mind. And anyone who says that if you meditate, you're running away from your responsibilities, actually it's the complete opposite. Because by meditating, you're getting the qualities of mind which allow you to be able to live up to the qualities needed by a leader. So meditation actually is of the utmost importance on the level of society. It's not just about a private thing which doesn't link up to anyone else, but actually it's right there with the skills you need to deal with people in a wider society. Also, meditation can help us towards harmony in society, because a lot of things in society come from people's limited point of view in any particular situation. If you're talking about complex political issues, of course people have different views on the same issues. But even on things which are quite simple, people can have limitations according to their viewpoint. If you look at that figure this way up, then everyone would agree that that's a number 6. Except for the person who's standing on the other side of the picture. And from them, they would say, well, that's not a 6. From where I am, it looks like a number 9 to me. So even just because you're standing in a different place, because of the limits of our senses, which tend to be stuck on the front of our head, then we have a limited perception of what the reality of the world is. And those little differences in point of view can actually lead to major arguments, which cause society to have disharmony. Is there a way to have a more objective view of reality, which is not concerned with just where we're standing? Well, in a way there is. And the way is to be centered in the way you perceive things. Just as last week we were able to stand back and look at ourselves in an objective way, even when we were part of the problem. With issues in the outside world, if we are more centered in the way that we perceive things, so that we're not limited by our point of view, by being centered, by allowing all the sensory information we use to pass through the center when we are discerning the truth of events, then we start to come to a place where people can agree on things, even though they may be located in different places completely. You see how that might happen? So we have two things already: not being separated from other people, but also this sense of looking at things objectively. Also, there's a sense in which the bad things which happen in the world tend to happen when the I comes into place. And it's said that without the I in the middle, then there is generally not too much sin in the world. But it's where the egotism comes in, where we forget the people around us, that is always the start of the problems. So, yeah, if you find that you are dwelling on egotism, then you are opening the door to other problems which will affect the people around you in terms of selfishness. So on this course we have looked mainly at the qualities of the mind. The mind is generally something located within ourselves. It's something which, if we keep our thoughts to ourselves, then no one else would ever know about. But definitely this is something which we work upon through the quality of meditation. On this course we started with the mind, and we've gradually built on that. To think about the knowledge which the mind has, and in terms of applications of that, how realistic knowledge about the world around us can sometimes be obscured by the 5 hindrances, especially of the mind, which affect the way we see reality. Okay? So even our own mind, we are unable to see clearly because of the way the 5 hindrances work in the mind. On a slightly broader level, talking about our personality, and we find again we're up against obstacles, but the obstacles that tend to affect the level of our personality tends to be the habits which we have in our lives, especially the bad ones, which obscure maybe the better side of our personality. We'll look more at habits after New Year, for those of you continuing on to the next series of the course, but we've touched on these. But that tends to be how hindrances come through into your personality as the habits which we form. On a slightly broader level, moving out to aspects of our lifestyle, then we have the choices that we make in our lives. The way we split up our time, for example. We've talked a little bit about that, even talking about the choices and the priorities in our lives. And again, life problems tend to get in the way, limiting the choice that we have in these aspects. If we have too many problems, then we find ourselves with very little choice at all. Some things we do have some choice over, and generally the luckier we are, the more elements of choice that we have. If we don't have any choice in the matter, then generally we have to be patient about it. And again, meditation can help us to be patient sometimes too. So meditation, although it starts in the mind, actually reaches out much further than that. And the sort of what I'd like to leave you with is that meditation is far from being antisocial, but it actually is linking up with people on a deeper level. Yeah. And if everyone in the world had a knowledge of meditation, then perhaps many of the problems of disharmony would fall away much more easily than we would realize. There's a sense in which people like to talk about peace and forging peace and even fighting for peace and having wars to end all wars, etc., etc. But it's often through a very limited understanding of the word peace. Yeah. Some people think that peace is just the absence of aggression, but it's like a negative of really what we're talking about with peace. Because if people are really peaceful, then the idea of being warlike or aggressive would not occur in their mind in the first place. And there's a sort of slogan that goes together with our main temple in Thailand, is that world peace can be formed actually through inner peace, because people need to have an understanding on the inside of what they're aiming for before they can really reach out to make the world a more peaceful place. There's a sense in which if each and every person themselves was peaceful, then there would be peace. Yeah, it's not that one person has to inflict peace on another person who is not so peaceful as them. That's just sort of going about it the wrong way. But if the more peaceful people there are in society, then the more peaceful the society becomes. That's the idea of it. And maybe some inkling of that comes through as we spread that sense of peace when we're doing loving kindness meditation too. Finally, I leave you with 2 little items of homework, which we not mentioned before, which is to do with seeing the good habits in other people. Yeah, not the bad habits just now, but seeing and appreciating the good habits in other people. First of all, you have to see them in yourself first. Sometimes you might be so humble that you don't even recognize the goodness and the strengths which you have in yourself. But in order to encourage the sort of people noticing goodness in other people and in themselves, we can mention to other people when we see something good that they are doing. It's also known as being magnanimous. Yeah? Being big-hearted. You don't have the exclusive on being the best person in the world. Some other people might have some good things too, and you recognize them for it. It's also known as congratulating them. Yeah? And also, another sense of this humility is when people congratulate you on the good things that you seem to be doing or exemplifying. Let them do that. You know, you don't have to say, no, 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 or even hide it away somewhere. And some people are very afraid that people might see them doing something good, as if it would detract from it somehow. But the world, I think, needs people to exemplify good things, because there's so many exemplifying things that are not so good. Yeah. If you ever are around the temple here, outside hours, you hear a lot of people saying sadhu, which is like an Indian word, but it means well done. And generally what they're saying is, like in the little speech bubble there, oh, I appreciate the good stuff which you are doing. I rejoice in your merit, this sort of energy of goodness which you have. Yeah, just in case you wondered. And one more item. Throughout the day, create the feeling that you're united with the mental object at the center of your body. So even outside your meditation, try to bring yourself back to center yourself with whatever meditation experience you've been working on. Even with your eyes open, you can do that. And it will help you to be objective and not to be hijacked by your thoughts, even though you may come across things during the day which are testing your patience. Yeah? So far so good? So I will leave a little bit extra time today for some meditation, so we have time at the end for our loving kindness practice. Yeah, otherwise I will lead meditation in a way that hopefully those of you who are new can also follow too. Yeah. So if you'd like to make yourself comfortable for meditation now. Are you warm enough? Ish?
Does anybody want more heat? Sorry, yes, a couple?
Yeah. Be frozen to the spot. This is a little diagram of spreading loving kindness that we introduced last week. But for those of you who are new to meditation, when they're talking about the center of the body, you may be interested that this point down at the center is where we try to focus when we are meditating. So if you'd like to start by settling yourself down into a comfortable position for yourself in meditation. And comfortable for some of you may mean sitting cross-legged on a meditation mat or even in a half lotus position. For others it may mean sitting on a chair. Whichever way we sit, we should sit with our back fairly straight. To allow ourselves to breathe easily. And also ultimately to find the center of our body without too much trouble. Our hands should rest palm upwards on our lap. the index finger of our right hand touching against the thumb of our left hand. And we close our eyes very gently. Close our eyes gently in much the same way we might close our eyes to go to sleep. We take a few deep breaths to ourselves, breathing in to the full extent of our lungs, and then breathing slowly and smoothly out again. So again we breathe the cool, refreshing evening air. And as we breathe out, we may feel that we're letting go of any previous worries or concerns we may have had. Each time we sit for meditation, part of our preparation is to do with relaxing the body. Because only if the body is relaxed will it be possible for us to relax the mind. So we make a mental scan down through the whole of our body to make sure each and every muscle is properly relaxed, starting at the top of our head. Relaxing the muscles of our eyebrows and our eyelids. Allowing the muscles of our face to become soft. Relaxing our jaw, taking care not to clench our teeth together. And eventually relaxing our neck and allowing our shoulders to drop to their natural height. From there we relax both arms, our forearms, and eventually our hands and fingers. So that the way our hands rest in our lap is as light and gentle as possible. From there we relax all the muscles of our torso, our chest, our trunk, our abdomen. Taking particular care there's no tension remaining across our stomach. When relaxing both legs, all the way down to our feet and our toes. Until eventually all the way from the top of our head, right the way down to the tips of our toes. There's no remaining part of our body with any sort of stress or tension anymore. If we do notice anywhere in our body where tension lingers on, we do our best to let go of that tension as far as we can. And this will allow the focus of our attention to return to a place inside our body, almost as if our whole body has disappeared, and focus instead on the feelings inside ourselves. A sense of warmth and well-being, and of inner space. And even this inner space of the body is something which can relax further if we're able to let go for a few moments of all the worries and concerns in our everyday life. Even the supposedly important things we put on side, put on hold for the time being, to free up the space in our mind. We dwell as little as possible on any thoughts from our past, and try to avoid making plans for the future. We keep our attention as much as possible in the here and now. On this window of possibility in our lives. Gathering back our thoughts and attention from any of the possible distractions in the outside world to a single place of peace and serenity on the inside of us, as if there were a special place inside us where, for as long as our mind is located, it will be protected somehow from the impact of the outside world and any negativity therein. So we allow the focus of our attention to remain inside us, absorbing somehow all the feeling of happiness and joy inside, as if our whole mind were perfused by tiny particles of happiness and joy. When we feel relaxed and refreshed, both in body and in mind, very gently, using no effort at all, we imagine the inside of our body to be just an empty space or a hollow cavity, without any organs or tissues, without any muscles or bones. Or some people may like to imagine their body to be like a transparent bubble, made of the thinnest of transparent skin. Others still may feel their body has disappeared altogether. It's like being at the center of some great empty space. But whatever your experience of that inner world, allow the focus of your attention to drift slowly downwards on your midline until it comes to rest at a place somewhere around the level of your diaphragm. about 2 finger breadths above the level of your navel. For some people, simply bringing the mind into alignment with this point will already give rise to some sort of inner experience, possibly something you can feel or something that you can see inside with your mind's eye. If this is the case, then simply continue in your meditation by observing that inner experience, adopting that spontaneous object as the focus for your meditation. However, for those of you who are newer to the meditation, it may be necessary to give the mind its first object as a place to focus, as a starting point for the mind, in which case you can conjure up either a visual object or an object that you can feel at your very center. An example of a visual object may be something like a shining sun, seen in miniature at the center of your body. An example of an inner feeling might be the sensation of having an invisible fruit resting at the center of your body, with a certain texture and temperature, a certain shape and size, and certainly a certain weight to it. Either of these may suit you. You should try both and see which feels the most natural. But the idea is that for as long as you can maintain that inner object in your mind, then your mind will also be centered at that point in your abdomen. But if you find your mind distracted away to things outside of yourself, each time you realize, you just bring your attention back again. It's necessary to conjure up the object anew, then you can do that for as many times as it takes. And little by little, the mind will be gradually trained to remain centered at that point within us, almost as if we have moved the whole of our mental operations out of our head and down into that space in the center of our body, whether it be our perceptions, memories, thoughts, or cognition. All have been relocated to the point in the center of the body, almost as if we were a person who had no head. If we have a lot of thoughts in the mind, generally using the sound of a mantra will reduce the number of thoughts. We can make use of the traditional mantra for our lineage, which is to hear the sound of the words Samma Arahang coming up as if we hear them originating from our inner object at our abdomen. Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, over and over again. The number of thoughts are less, perhaps more manageable, only few and far between. It may be possible to reduce the thoughts without even using the mantra, just by ignoring the thoughts in the mind, not elaborating on the thoughts that arise in the mind, but letting them die down into silence. So the only thing left in our mind is the inner object of our choice, something which we can continue to observe even if it should change or transform in the course of the meditation. So we apply the mind as lightly and gently as we can, with a feather-light touch. A touch of the mind that is so light that it is almost as if we were not touching at all. We continue in this way, lightly and gently, for a few more moments in silence until we come to the appropriate time. continue to maintain your attention at the center of your body the whole the time. Lightly, gently, and continuously. At the center of whatever inner experience you've built up for yourself as the result of the meditation so far this evening. For some of you, inner experience may be something like a sense of brightness centered around your abdomen, in which case you can place your mind very gently at the center of the brightness in a way that the brightness somehow expands outwards from that central point. For others it may be an inner feeling, something like a sensation of well-being around the center of your abdomen. In the same way, by touching very gently at the center of that feeling, the feeling will seem to spread outwards from that central point, expanding. Further still, it may be as if there's a sort of image or a picture on the inside, which is the focus of your attention. In the same way, by focusing at the center of the inner picture, the picture will seem to spread outwards, enlarging, almost drawing you in a way. This process of expanding the inner experience is known as the spreading of loving kindness. And basically, it's to do with applying the mind so gently at the very center of our inner experience. There's almost a melting away of the inner experience, allowing it to become larger. And we perform this exercise, allowing the inner experience that we have to fill the whole of our own body, making the wish at our center that we might be well and happy, free from all suffering. And again from our center, but this time allowing the boundary of our inner experience to extend outwards beyond our body. We expand our loving kindness out to the whole of the room in which we are sitting for meditation. Again, with the wish from our center that all living beings here in the room be well and happy, free from suffering, live together in peace and harmony. Begin from our center, but extending the loving kindness more widely still. Extend the loving kindness to the whole of the building, in all directions all around, outwards to the whole neighborhood. The wish that all living beings in the neighborhood be well and happy, free from all suffering, live together in peace and harmony. If it makes it easier to imagine spreading our loving kindness across a map seen in bird's eye view, we can do this for our loving kindness, extending it outwards to the whole, the county. Wider still to the whole of Atlanta. The whole of Georgia State. The wish Let all living beings here in this state be well and happy, free from suffering, live together in peace and harmony. Extend our loving kindness to neighboring states, to all the United States, all in North America, with the wish that every single living being on this continent be well and happy, free from all suffering, live together in peace and harmony. We extend our loving kindness to the remaining continents of the world, extending our loving kindness across the entire surface of this planet, with the wish that all living beings, whether on the land, in the air or in the sea, be well and happy, free from all suffering, live together in peace and harmony. We can extend loving kindness as we are able outwards into the universe, in all the 6 directions or compass points. Extend it to the front as far as we can project our loving kindness. Extend it to the back. Extending to our left. And extending to our right. Extend loving kindness above ourselves. We extend loving kindness below. Extending without limits or boundaries, until our loving kindness becomes a sort of universal love, extending to every possible living being. Again, with the wish that all these living beings be well and happy, free from suffering, live together in peace and harmony. And for the final few moments of our practice, we can extend loving kindness to particular individuals, loved ones, perhaps towards those for whom we feel a debt of gratitude, towards those still living, or to those who have already passed. We spread our loving kindness in this way for the last few moments of our practice together. Sabba Buddhanupavena, Sabba Dhammanupavena, Sabba Sanghanupavena Sattha Soti Bhavantu Te. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for this evening, you can gradually open your eyes again. If you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position. Before gradually finishing your practice. So hopefully those who are new today found they could keep up with that. Yeah? Concentrate on the bit at the beginning, yeah? And the end is a little bit more advanced. But the idea is that you should try to practice it further at home, and it becomes easier with practice, perhaps at home just for 20 minutes. Yeah? And little by little it builds up a sense of mastery. So, what we have been doing over the last few weeks is looking at different aspects of meditation. Material and spiritual knowledge, being a teacher to yourself, and knowledge of the hindrances that we're up against when trying to meditate, and the link between everyday life and quality of mind. We have had a look at trying to divide up our time efficiently to allow time for meditation too. And we've had possibly as many as 5 different ways of approaching the meditation and their suitability. We've been using personality type with that little piece of paper with all the choices of 2 possibilities and the questions as a way to try to find a way into the meditation in a way that's appropriate to our individual needs. We've had a look at the nature of the mind. We've learned how to evaluate our meditation for those of you who were here for the group sharing. Meditation and problem solving last week. So hopefully all your problems are solved by now. If not, then now you have more possibilities for looking into them. And today's meditation's role in society. All the knowledge is good. It is sort of relevant. It helps to put your perspective, your meditation into some practical applications. And knowledge is always good, but for meditation it's never enough. And I would always encourage you to proceed with meditation wherever it may take you. The course is a limited length of time. It's 11 weeks. Even for those of you who have followed the whole of it, yes, you probably still feel there's much more ahead of you, although you stand, you're definitely more experienced in meditation than you were when you started out. But I would like to encourage you to practice further. And there's many ways of furthering your meditation. Meditate at home if you can. At least 20 minutes a day is a good way to start. Also, this Saturday is special. We have a whole day of meditation organized for those on this course. Some people are joining us who have not had the chance to follow the whole course. You'll find that there's things that are new for those who have followed the course, but also a little summary which will allow those who have come along just for the day to sort of catch up with you. So that will be 8:30. I think it starts 9:30. Oh, okay. Well, we can sort of 9:30? Okay. 9:30 till 5. Yeah. Yes. There will always be something on a Wednesday evening, never fear, but it may be slightly more miscellaneous for the next 3 weeks until we make a start on the new round of courses, which will be entitled Meditation and Self-Transformation, more focused on the aspects of bringing meditation out into other aspects of your personality, and where that can help. So applied meditation. But we'll still go through the same sequence of learning the meditation from the more simple to the more elaborate, for those who want to bring friends who have not meditated before. On Sundays, some of the group here also come on Sundays, so you see more of the behind the scenes and possibly Buddhist content of the temple, from 9:30 to 1:30. Generally the time people turn up for that. If you have some background in meditation already, it's a big plus, because not everything is explained in so much detail, but it's a time to meditate for a whole hour and things like that, and discover what else goes on here apart from meditation classes. And there's also every day, between 6 and 7, there's chanting, which you might think, well, that's weird. But it actually is a way of sort of honing the mind to a sense of calm before you meditate, which for some of you might be interesting or effective. The meditation itself is usually between 7 and 7:30. So if you happen to be passing on other days of the week, between 7 and 7:30, we have meditation here in this room. And other activities we probably will be informed by email. Yeah. So for today, we probably come to the end of this series. And if it's all right, we have a photo together as well to finish off with, like they do. Yeah.
So since this is the end of the 11-week series, we want to have something capture our important culmination to the end. So we'd like to invite everyone for a group photo with our teaching Venerable. But before we do that, let us pay our respect to our teaching Venerable. Bow. 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 And we've got our group donation from the class. So if I can invite everyone to join me in making this donation. Again, this is considered cultivating good deeds for us by us doing this. So keep your mind at the center of your body and make a wish for yourself as we make the donation to the Venerable on behalf of the group to the center. So if we can respectfully offer it.
This is where all the Groupons go. For anyone who wondered, yeah.
Okay, let us make our offering to the Venerable.
So I wish you all strong health, happiness and prosperity in life, special goodwill during the holiday season. May all of you make great strides in your meditation journey, being able to attain inner peace with ease and without hindrances. And when whatever good things you wish for in life, may those things come to fulfillment with ease, now and forevermore.
To rejoice in your merits. Okay, so if we can all just turn around. And actually, let's kind of make sure it's nice. So if we can get all the guys kind of like a border, in the back. And then
A background, yeah.
This is just in case it goes to 10, and that way it looks appropriate. All right, perfect. And then we can just kind of get a little closer. Oh. Please.
You have to plug them in down there somewhere. In that corner.
Did we turn that on?
Yes, but I don't have the switch for those ones. You need to plug them in.
Oh,
there.
Plug?
Yeah, at the bottom of that plastic thing on the wall.
Oh, there's something right over here?
No, just walk past it.
Oh, okay.
You see the plastic coming down the wall? You have to plug in something around there.
Okay, never mind. Forget it.
No plug? Okay, never mind. Cameras are very good these days. They can take photos in the dark.
Thank you,
Nice picture. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
You can all breathe again now.
And one other thing I forgot to announce for those of you guys who've been coming consistently, at least 8 classes that we've got marked, we're going to have a token of appreciation gift that we're going to hand out this Saturday if you're at the retreat. Yeah, I don't think we can turn it on. Venerable, Nicholas, so can we turn this on?
Those lights?
Yeah.
There's a plug at the bottom of that plastic thing.
Right here?
Yeah, somewhere coming out of the coming down the pipe. There's a plug, and you plug it in. Oh, maybe it's right here somewhere. Right?
Oh, Nicholas. Yeah, I don't think there's anything there but cables. Yeah, I don't think it's working. Okay. Yeah, because I was like, I don't.
Yeah, no plug.
No, I'm like, I don't see anything right here.
It's a mystery. But I thought, yeah, thought there's something that comes down here and
Okay, it's all right. I think it turned out fine. It's pretty bright in here anyways.
That's like a fringe.
That's a phone plug.
That's audio. These
Yep.
are microphones. So.
well, I'll ask. The one is on the last things. There's a plug there.
Yes.
But it looks like the plug.
I don't think it's working, actually.
It did work at Katina.
Oh, really? Yeah, because if it works, it would be right here. Oh, it looks like it's on.
Oh.
It is on. Darn.
Let there be light.
Yeah. Okay, it does work. So
Yeah, it
the
didn't-
plug is right there.
Okay,
The
good.
plug,
So,
the plug is
For the
not
next
right
one.
here.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I'm vegan, so no animal products whatsoever. So should I bring something for her just in case?
I think so. Okay.
You tell that lady in red.
I don't
She's
know,
the
like-
one making the vegetarian food.
Oh, yeah.
So she can, yeah, she's making the vegetarian food for this weekend. She's called Ratna. So if you tell her, she can make sure that menu isn't.
She doesn't need any. She's right there.
I don't need
but-
cheese or milk.
Yeah, if you tell her, or you can check this, and then you know.
Yeah.
So that lady in the red.
Yeah. She's coming on Saturday and she's a vegetarian.
No, vegan.
Vegan. Vegan. And he mentions she doesn't know about it, maybe. If she doesn't know, she may not have. No, Fuse is coordinating lunch. Bring some, so, yeah, vegetarian. Yeah, we do have, someone coordinating lunches. Let me ask how many people would you make it? Okay, she's helping it.
Someone will make it.
You can make it.
We can do it. We can do it. I think it's just
Oh, okay. That's
I think that's vegetarian.
How many people vegetarian?
She's not only vegetarian but also vegan. So maybe
How long have you been vegetarian?
That's great, thank you, Master.
More than me. Me
Master.
also.
Yeah?
Very pure vegetarian.
Was that?
Very she a vegetarian.
Yeah, no cheese, no.
But I eat vegetarian cake.
Oh,
Because in public they have a vegetarian cake.
ถ้ามีก็
No. I
แต่
just
ว่าเป็นคนเดียว Yeah, I think it'd be better to bring
maybe I'll bring some vegetarian.
Yeah, maybe better.
And I also have an extra holiday roast, like for Thanksgiving, we didn't make it, so.
Excellent idea.
So, like, force it.
I love
Yeah.
this. Oh, and it's like lunch.
Normally the vegetarian. Thank
It's probably just
Did you hear something?
Saturday I have a meditation.
Yeah, it's all day, it's like 9:30 till 5. But lunch.
From the morning, to 5 all day. Oh,
We're
it
just
start this Saturday.
Yeah, that's the first one. People sitting quietly from 5. There's other things in between. There's different things.
We have to walk, but I mean, it's that.
Your teacher will come to teach
Yes.
you. She's got a 30 session, there's somebody who's coming. Later.
Lena.
She'll do a little stress class for you. There's lots of things all
I
day
came
long.
here all the time on the Saturday before, but I never come often now. It's Thursday.
Fun, right?
Yes.
Most time I come Saturday. That's time.
So,
It's because of
you no, I think, I know some people can do that, but that's classic. Yeah, she's got the schedule.
No one.
Yeah.
I just love that. There's two vegetarian.
So, be vegetarian.
But she didn't appear. Yeah, she is here. But I need a little bit expensive because of cheesecake. I eat cheesecake. But a little, not too much. Just a little. I don't know, but I know it's a cheese, but it's a taste little. But, when you eat vegetarian, you can smell the meat or feel stale. My son, he took the vegetarian and he walked out and he chili. We're trying, but maybe when we went out there, it doesn't like yeah, we're trying. Because I'm more Chinese food, Thai food, first generation, and my son, a month. But I don't know how to change. Maybe I will just say, no, but
much easier than it used to be.
so I was able most of the my house to yeah, I could learn to tell because I want to be really good. I don't know how to Cantonese. I want right before I go. Because I cook Chinese, Thai, then
Western vegetarian.
There's vegetarian party.
yeah, but he bought from somewhere. And the smell it. Vegetarian meat. I don't eat, I throw away. I don't know how to cook it. Maybe